In this video, I'll be explaining the meaning of the word chromatic and how to identify and draw chromatic scales. I do mention key signatures in this video, so please have a look at my other videos on key signatures first if you need to. I also mention the use of semitones, also known as half steps, including double sharps and double flats. Have a look at my video on accidentals and semitones if you need help with these. The word chromatic simply means the use of notes which are a semitone apart. Now, as I earlier mentioned, semitones are also known as half steps, but I'll be using the word semitone in this video. Now, if you watch my video about semitones, you'll know that I describe them as neighbouring or adjacent notes on the piano. For example, G to G sharp is a semitone, E to F is also a semitone. C to D are not neighbours, as C sharp or D flat is between them. However, C to C sharp would be a semitone, as would C sharp to D. Any two notes that are neighbouring are considered a semitone apart. A chromatic scale is a series of semitones, usually from one note to the same note an octave higher or lower. Let's have a look at a chromatic scale that starts on the note C. All we have to do is write every pitch from the C that I've already drawn onto the stave to the next C an octave higher. There are just a few important rules. Firstly, each pitch is only ever written once. For example, D sharp and E flat are the same pitch, so you only write one of them in your scale, not both. Secondly, there must always be at least one note in each space and on each line of the scale. There must never be more than two notes on each line or in each space. And finally, keep accidentals, that's sharps, flats and naturals, to a minimum. So don't write in an E sharp when it would be easier to write an F. So now we know what we need to do, let's crack on. We've already got our starting note ready, and I'll leave the C, which is an octave higher, where it is to remind us when to stop. Okay, I've highlighted the C on our piano in the top left-hand corner of the screen, and a semitone up from C is C sharp or D flat. You can choose to use either in your scale, but if you go for sharps, try and keep the rest of your scale using sharps, or if you choose the D flat, try and stick to flats for the rest of your scale. It's much easier for musicians to read a series of similar accidentals rather than a mixture. I'll go for the C sharp and I'll add it to my scale. A semitone up from C sharp is D, we add that to our scale. A semitone up from D is D sharp. E flat is also correct, but remember, because I chose C sharp at the start of the scale, it's best to stick with sharps as much as possible for the rest of the scale. Let's add the D sharp to the scale. We'll keep going up by semitones, adding them to our scale as we go. Another semitone up is E, another semitone up is F, another semitone up is F sharp, not G flat because we chose sharps. Another semitone takes us to G, another semitone we're at G sharp, another and we're at A, another semitone to A sharp, another to B, and one last semitone brings us to C, which is an octave higher from where we started. So if we check through our instructions, each pitch was only written once. There is one note in every space and on every line. There are no more than two notes per line or space. And finally, we kept accidentals to a minimum by only using sharps where necessary. Therefore, this is our completed chromatic scale. Now, this first example was fairly straightforward, but things do get a little complicated if you're sitting a music theory exam and you get asked a question like this. Draw an ascending chromatic scale which starts on the note B flat. Use the key signature of B flat major. To start, let's add the key signature of B flat major. B flat major has two flats. Secondly, let's add in the correct first note. Now, it tells us to start on the note B flat, but of course there's no need to write the flat symbol as this is covered by the key signature. Do keep an eye on that key signature when writing chromatic scales. Now, here's the key bit of information. Because B flat major is a scale which uses flats, it's best to try and stick to flats as much as possible when drawing this scale. Avoid the use of sharps if at all possible. Let's try it. Here's the B flat, our chromatic scale starting note, on our piano at the top of the screen. A semitone higher than B flat is B. Now remember to add in that natural sign to ensure it is clear that you mean a B. A semitone higher than B is C. Another semitone high is... Now this is where it would be tempting to write a C sharp, but by using a D flat you are ensuring that you stick to flats. A semitone higher than D flat is D. Don't forget to add that natural symbol. A semitone higher than D is E flat. Now don't be tempted to write a flat symbol here as it's covered by the key signature. A semitone higher than E flat is E, and make sure you add in that natural symbol. A further semitone higher is F. A semitone higher is, again, don't be tempted to write F sharp. G flat would be clearer. A semitone higher than G flat is G. Another semitone higher is A flat. Now here's an interesting point. If you did decide to write G sharp instead of A flat, this would be wrong on two counts. Firstly, the use of the sharp would be odd against all of the surrounding flats, but, and more importantly, there would be 3 notes on the G line. This is a big no-no. Always make sure that there are no more than 2 notes per line or space. Anyway, back to our chromatic scale. A semitone higher than A flat would be A, and finally a semitone higher would be B flat, but again there's no need to write in the flat as this is covered by the key signature. And that's it, our completed chromatic scale which starts on B flat and uses the key signature of B flat major. Let's try one rather complex final example. A descending chromatic scale that starts on C double sharp. We start by placing a C double sharp at the start of our chromatic scale and then proceed to descend, remember this time the question asks us to descend rather than ascend, by 1 semitone at a time. Here's C double sharp on our keyboard. Remember, C double sharp is the same pitch as D, as the double sharp represents a raising of 2 semitones. So a semitone lower than C double sharp is C sharp. We add that to our scale. Now this is where you need to be careful. Here's C sharp on our keyboard, and a semitone lower than C sharp is C, but we cannot add this to our scale as we would have 3 notes in the same space. Rule number 3 tells us that there must be no more than 2 notes per line or space. Therefore, we have to use B sharp instead, B sharp being the same pitch as C. A semitone lower than B sharp is B. Don't forget to add in that natural symbol. A semitone lower than B is A sharp. Don't be tempted to add in B flat, which would be odd with all of the surrounding sharps, and it would be 3 notes on the same line. A semitone lower than A sharp is A. A semitone lower is G sharp. Another semitone lower is G. Another semitone lower is F sharp. Another semitone lower is F. A further semitone lower is E. Another semitone lower is D sharp, not E flat, as we wouldn't want a rogue flat to appear here. Another semitone lower is C double sharp, not D, as this is the same pitch as C double sharp. And remember that we only need to go 1 octave lower than our starting note, C double sharp. The use of double sharps and double flats can confuse even the most able student, so do take your time when they appear. So this is our completed descending chromatic scale that starts and ends on C double sharp. Chromatic scales are often rushed as they appear to be very easy to complete. Do always keep your wits about you and follow the key rules in the top right hand corner of the screen. I do hope that this video has been useful to you. Thanks for watching.